one of the biggest changes in history. Since the dawn of the industrial age, it is not the first time, but it is the biggest in over 100 years. Technology and work are changing, and so are we. And technology reshapes our lives, often faster than we can understand it. Grasp what's happening, what it means for you, and how to stay ahead. Welcome to The Future Was Yesterday, a podcast where we talk with the leaders who are reshaping the future of work. Because the future isn't coming, is already here.
Welcome, John, and thank you for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
And first of all, I like to start by asking if you could tell our audience a little bit about the work you are doing at the moment and a little bit about yourself.
Absolutely. Well, now I am running an online music school. It's called Futureproof Music School. It is an AI native music school in that we use a AI music tutor to handle part of the teaching. But we do believe that AI cannot teach everything about music. So we believe that AI is more useful for the more beginning stages and learning the skills. And when you get to the point of wanting to attain mastery in music, you need to learn from actual human musicians and artists. So that's kind of how our system works. I've been a musician all my life. I started as an acoustic jazz bassist, and I played a lot of different kinds of music, and I've had a lot of roles in the music industry. I was a touring bassist in the Chinese pop music industry for some years and played all over the world with Chinese pop stars. I also worked as a sound designer in Hollywood. I worked on the movie Wall-E. That was probably my biggest credit. I've played all kinds of music with all kinds of different musicians all over the world. And I've been doing electronic music too for about 20 years. I've been involved in education since about 15 years now, and especially online education is something that I really enjoy. So that's been my main focus for these years.
Wow, it's really a background that you have, and I don't know because I don't have any familiarity with music. It's totally a foreign industry to me, but the way how you make it sound, it's like sounds like a very technical business.
Well, there's a lot to know and a lot of skills to know, and it has gotten a lot more technical over the years. When I was first playing, I was a jazz bass player, like I said, and I played with other jazz musicians, and we had to play all the notes in real time together. And then later, I got into computer recording and production where you can change everything as many times as you want. But ultimately, I guess what I always say is that working in music or the arts, there's been so much change over the years that in order to have a career with any longevity, you have to constantly reinvent yourself and find new roles or new areas to work in. You can't just think you're going to plug away doing the same thing for your whole career.
Absolutely. And this is something I believe very important to learn. From this, I wanted to ask you how or why you made I don't know if it was a jump, but how you started or why you started, from where is coming the interest in education?
Oh, well, I was a long-time consumer of education. I think I was in higher education for about 8 years. I did a bachelor's degree in music, and then I went to jazz school in New York City. And then years later, I decided to do a master's degree in ethnomusicology. And I studied the culture of music on the internet, actually, was my focus. But as far as working in education, it's actually fascinating and very rewarding to pass on skills to younger people. And especially in the arts, there's a kind of mystery about what it is to actually be good and attain mastery,
Sure.
and then how to pass that on. And I was early on. I went to an elite jazz school in New York City for a year, the New School, and I studied with some of the best jazz musicians in the world. We even talked about back then a lot of the learning that happened, and it's more like the attitude rubbing off on you by accident as much as actually, pedagogy or learning some planned curriculum. Was at some odd moment you notice, oh, that person always does this, and that seems to be how he learned.
It's kind of funny the way how you are putting it, because I'm a former Navy officer, so I studied in Naval Academy, and it's very much, or sounds the process very similar. You are learning a lot from your teachers, from the officers, the captains that are teaching you, but not only the skills or the technical part of the business, but how you are going to behave, or the role models that you are going to adopt, and hopefully help you to be successful in difficult situations. No? It's
Yeah.
the important part of this.
How did this person deal with challenges in life when
Yeah,
they came across them, and what could I learn from that?
not only the subject matter, but also how you, as an adult, are going to behave in the wild, no, in the open world.
That's kind of how we've set up our music school, actually. So even though it's all online, probably the central part of it is the live events, the live online events where we have the teachers and the students actually working together. That's a really important part of it. And a big part of my career in education has been trying to find ways to connect people with technology, even though they can't be in the same place at the same time. Obviously, there are many good things about being in the same place at the
Mhm.
same time as other
Yeah,
people. And I don't want to downplay the value of that, but there's a lot of reasons why, like right now, obviously, you and I couldn't have this conversation if we had to have it in real life. And so there are a lot of things you can do to make social experiences more real and valuable online when we can't be together in person.
no, absolutely. There is a lot of good lessons to learn, to unpack, especially for uh, from the perspective of the development, the personal development of the kids, or the youth that are in school now. How much is positive to take online lessons versus going to school, and all what is in the middle. No, after the pandemic, it was a learning curve to identify and learn of a lot of things that I think we are still not able to process everything, the good and the bad of this exchange. No?
I guess as far as it, yeah, I mean, during the pandemic, we pushed ourselves to do these things much more and make them work for us. But I was going to say, even before the pandemic, I've worked in online education for a long time. And it does make you think about some of the things like, if I was organizing a school, a real life school, not just an online school, I would organize it more like an online school, because when we do get together in real life with other students, I believe we would be better advised to spend our time actually working together and doing interactive activities rather than just having somebody give a presentation to us. I'm a big supporter of ideas like the flipped classroom, where you I think students today are fine to get the lecture material or the subject matter from video, where they can
Mhm.
stop it and watch it again and watch it at home in bed or whatever. And then when they actually come to school and meet people, they should be working on projects together or something like this. That's how I would organize it. So a lot of the ways that we organize online education, I actually think are better, but that's how I would organize it, more of a hybrid model if I was doing that.
Yeah, I think it's a smart approach. Certainly believe that there are things that, especially maybe the repetitive things, no, or the things that they are facts, and you just have to learn it or memorize it because they are as they are. that it's possible to do it with a less a human touch or a human interaction and leave the other more critical thinking stuff or more demanding stuff depending to do it with other people.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the only reason we organize school like we do is because for thousands of years we had to get people together in space in order to
Yeah,
read to them, but we don't really need to do that anymore.
yeah. It's totally another whole separate conversation. What to do with schools and education, especially elementary and secondary, But I wanted to tell you, visit your website. By the way, Futureproof is a great name. A little bit unexpected from me, from the point of view of a music school. But
Why do you say that?
I don't know, because I will expect that the music school will have the name of maybe a famous musician or composer or an instrument like Yamaha schools that are very popular here. There is one, for example, my kid was attending for a while a school for drummers and was drum school. So not maybe not much to not.
Well, I mean, our school it's really music production school, but it does raise the question with all the changes happening in technology, what are the relevant skills to learn as a musician? What should you know to be not only a musician, really to be a music producer, a music creator, not just a player of music. And so we think that there's certain meta skills that you need to know as an artist, like having well-informed taste and vision is something that will always be crucially important, no matter no matter what technology you're using to make the music, or if you're just singing it into a microphone, but having the taste and vision to decide what you want to do, that will always be important. We actually, a lot of naming it that and are thinking on that, a lot of it came from the challenge of AI music and art existing. However, we've found that, at least at this point, our students aren't really interested in using AI to make music that much. We were working on a course about generative AI music, but nobody really wanted to take it. So we stopped making it. But just in a world where that exists, then it raises the question of what is music making? Why are we even doing this? What can we accomplish? How can my music be better than somebody else's or more meaningful if you can just make it like this? So that's why we called it Futureproof Music School. But we've ended up thinking that actually it makes some fundamental skills more important. Yeah. Because you need to know, like one skill that is crucially important no matter how you make music is being able to hear. And so one of the things in our school is app for practicing listening skills. And no matter what kind of music you're going to make or how you're going to make it, it always helps if you're able to accurately hear what you're doing, and then understand, oh, it's that part of the music that I'm trying to change. If you don't know what that's called or how to refer to it or find it, then it doesn't matter if you have AI or just analog outboard gear or whatever you want to be able to do what you're trying to do. And then also being introduced to a lot of different sounds and influences, I think, is really, really important for younger musicians. At other schools I've worked for previously, I noticed one of the biggest problems we would have is that if the courses are working and everything is designed right, you would see that students would progress and skills would improve, and they wouldn't have wrong notes and they'd be able to make everything sound better. But if somebody had too narrow of a range of influences or background, then they would just get better at making the same derivative kind of copies of other people. And what they really needed was not to just understand the technique better, but to maybe be exposed to Mongolian throat music or something, and just something totally different, because the only way they're going to make something new is by being exposed to new combinations of things that nobody ever tried to put together
Yeah,
before. You
absolutely,
know what I mean?
absolutely. And when you were mentioning about the how you said the AI generative music course that didn't took off, I was thinking actually the opposite, that especially being or trying to be a content creator and an entrepreneur, and that you are trying to create materials decent enough to put them outside in the world and being attractive to people and enjoyable at the same time. A lot of times I'm thinking in the music of the background music, or to use some cues for the videos or something. And it had been a great tool, or a good tool to have, but especially when I'm having these like ideas of maybe very specific, the sound of this scene in this movie together with this part of this Beatles songs, and maybe a tango flow, to because in my head is what is making sense for what you are trying to put on the video, no? And it's very difficult to do. It's almost impossible. No, I have to ask help to a friend that it's a real musician to achieve something that it's maybe decent. But it's actually really difficult to do. Or otherwise you get something generative. No, like you said, it's
Yeah,
repeating
generic.
the same beat.
It depends on how the technologies are made too. Some of them are more channeling you towards the average,
Yeah,
and some of them are more open to being pushed beyond their limits.
yeah. Really, I think it's something that maybe, or these kind of skills that are starting to be more and more relevant. Maybe not for the people in the industry, but for the people that are around, or in need of the service of such industry. Like, for example, like entrepreneurs, like myself, or maybe educators, anyone that is creating content and need to learn a lot of different mini skills to manage or put their ideas in paper. I don't know. It's fascinating because it's making me think in a whole different set of skills, or things that I'm thinking I should be learning to.
You should be learning all of the skills to be able to do everything. Well, it's tantalizing because, yeah, when you start working with Claude Code or something, then you think, oh, I could actually do everything, and then you end up working even more. I think that's a phenomenon right now, because you start to set higher goals and try to build bigger things because your reach is increased.
Yeah. And I wanted to ask you now, because maybe this part partially you already answered it, but I wanted to ask you from the beginning, what was the relevance or the importance of a young person studying music at the moment, thinking all the things that are supposed to change in the work landscape in the coming years with automation and AI adoption. Why a young person should be pursuing a career in music? Now you have told now that it's a little bit more of music producing, what you are doing, but I really would like to learn your thoughts about the versus business, or versus the employment situation nowadays. Really can make a living a person or not?
One thing that perhaps should be said is you shouldn't pursue a career in the arts unless you just aren't interested in anything else and you're just so passionate about it that you won't give up no matter what. And if that's how you feel, then you should pursue a career in the arts. But if it's just because I think this seems interesting, like, no, don't bother. Like, you should do something else. It's not And that hasn't changed because of AI. It was never easy to have a career in the arts, and it never will be, I'm sure. But my general belief is that no matter what happens with AI or other technologies, there will always be human artists that are trying to make sense of the world around us as best they can using whatever means are available. And it is true, AI in some ways is not like earlier technologies, but in many ways, it still is a tool that we use to do things. And so I believe that we'll probably see great work done by younger people using AI music generators in the future. I don't know when or what form it will take, and it'll probably but it will probably take the form of people trying to push the technologies to do things that they're not really supposed to do, and they'll end up using it wrong on purpose, and it'll do some strange thing, and then that'll become the new sound that everybody loves, and everybody will be doing that. So I that's my ultimate belief, and that's why I'm running a music school. I think the means will change, but the desire to participate and make music and express your experience through sound, I think will always exist. As far as making a living and the future of work, I think that the problem that AI presents, which I think is similar in a lot of fields, actually, it's not unique to music. It's that, yes, there will be exceptional people that will make art with AI music, but most people's jobs aren't about making exceptional work. That most people are not superstars that are making masterpieces that we listen to for years. Most people are doing some kind of job where they go to work and they do the job and then they finish it. And in between, they're doing something that's somewhat routine. It's not entirely routine, but it's not painting the Mona Lisa every day. And so I think what is an unanswered question is, like, in music, you could see it as music generators now are good enough to make sort of mediocre background music that you could use in a web video. But it might be fine for that. You know, you don't need to have the greatest music of all time to be the intro for your web video for 10 seconds. So that's fine, but that could have been a job that somebody got paid for. So if they're not getting paid for that anymore, then what are they getting paid for, right? But I don't think that's unique to music at all. I think that's the same conundrum facing all jobs, possibly. You know what I mean? I whether perhaps AI will never get to where it's better than any human, but it could still be good enough to do average jobs in the workplace.
Yeah, and it's very maybe one of the examples of how these uh, evolving technologies, or how the adoption of different technologies make the jobs landscape change a little bit. I remember my friend musician who used to play at bars when I met him like 10 years ago, and now it's doing music for video games. And he found at the moment when the things weren't working anymore in the way how he usually was working in the technology, founded another niche in which now he's working and doing a little bit more of, or a much more what he was doing before. And was because technology opened a niche that, or a window that didn't exist, or
Right.
wasn't available at least 10 years ago, no, for example. So
Right. I mean, I think now I'm going to say the opposite of what I just said. I think a more optimistic spin that I've been thinking of a lot lately is that I use AI a lot for all kinds of things. I do AI coding, and it seems like a very common experience that people have, that you can it's pretty easy to make like 80% of an app with AI. You describe what you want in as much detail as you can, and then if you describe it well enough, you can make most of it in 5 minutes, say. But then finishing it could take a really long time.
Yeah.
Speaking from experience, like the testing of the last 5% and trying to find, oh, now when I do this and then I do this, it breaks, and then figuring out why that is, that can still take a long time. Let's say that's my job and AI does 80% of my job. But then I have like that 20% is what I'm doing. But then that 20% becomes my whole job, right? So the AI part isn't even part of my job anymore, or it's just something I'm supervising. But I still have maybe I still have just as many hours of work a day. It's just I'm doing 5 times more things or something. And so if you look at it that way, it's like AI is just raising the bar of what you need to do or how much
Yeah.
you could do. And if that's the case, maybe we all still have the same jobs, but we just are doing more, or we're higher on the food chain or something. I
Yeah.
could
Yeah. Yeah.
definitely see that playing out that way also.
That's very, very interesting. And I wanted to a little bit continuing, and we are almost in the end of the conversation, but I wanted to ask, following the same train of thought, from your point of view, with your experience all these years in education and in the music industry, is there any change or possible desirable scenario that you would like to be becoming a reality in the near future, let's say the next 3 to 5 years?
Is there a reality I would like to see
Some change, some improvement, something that you would like to see make it true,
in music specifically?
or in education?
Or in education? Well, in music, I am somewhat hopeful that there will be some, especially in the wake of COVID, I'm hopeful there will be some movement back towards people getting together in real life. Actually, I would like to see more live music gigs and people sharing music in real life spaces, let's say. I was just explaining to my son the other day that the early days of Facebook, like maybe 15 years ago or so, it really did a lot for in-person events, because once they started Facebook events, it was
Yeah,
really easy to invite all your friends to your birthday party or whatever.
exactly.
And I knew some DJs then that had a DJ collective here in LA, and that became their whole, they built their whole brand, and we're having these giant parties just by inviting people on Facebook. And it's just funny how those channels change. Like, things have like their magic moment when it worked, and then what usually happens is it gets saturated.
Mhm.
So then too many people were doing it, and then nobody used it anymore.
Yeah.
But I mean, because I believe that music is one of the deepest and most important parts of the human condition. It's how humans share a deep part of their experience together without words. And I would hate to see that uh I would hate to see that lost in the trend towards people just enjoying music by themselves all the time.
Mhm.
Some people have said, I don't know if I totally agree with this, but in fact, I don't totally agree with this, but some people have said the the condition of generative art and music, it's leading towards where you would just make music for yourself, and you would just be you would make your own movies for yourself, and everyone
Yeah.
will just watch their own movies and listen to their own music, which it seems like something fundamental would be lost there. That's what we're doing.
You know, a small anecdote, growing up in Mexico and driving in the public transport, especially buses or anything, it was very common that the driver will have the radio station on. So everyone will be listening, especially in Mexico City in the morning, driving 7, 8, 9 a.m. will 70s classics or 60s or 50s or I don't know, and driving back home will be like 90s music, because that was the music that was from that time, and was like a collective experience. I think a lot of
Yeah.
us had uh, the musical library that we have in our head. It's coming from those commuting,
Hmm.
daily commuting, no, and listening things that maybe we would haven't listen at home. And nowadays you are having your headphones and you are in your own bubble, and you have lost, or we have lost, this collective learning
Yeah.
if you
Yeah,
are
it's
not
true. I
exposed to
mean,
that.
one of the things I studied in graduate school in ethnomusicology was about how, I mean, social scientists, anthropologists have asked the question, why do we even have music? You know, why did primitive humans start banging rocks and singing together at all? And one of the main theories is that it was a way of binding the community together, actually. You know, they would get together and sing, and that was one of the things that kept them together. It made them feel like they were all part of the same thing, just like when people sing in church or wherever.
Yeah.
So we
And
can't really
well,
get that from listening to our own AI generated by ourselves.
yeah, it's going to be more difficult. And well, because our listeners might be in a different demographic than your students, I wanted to ask you as a final question: if a person who is listening the show and maybe is already in his or her 30s, 40s, and starting to think about maybe doing a second career, or starting to do something else, that had this wish for maybe the whole life, but went to the safe approach or the safe career, and is thinking about music, what will be the practical advice that you will give to this person that it's maybe starting to think in a second career, make and fulfill their youth dreams while still is time?
They should come to Futureproof Music School, obviously. No, but one of the key things that we're trying to offer, and we do have some students that fit that profile actually. It's giving people that are scattered around here and there by themselves, working on computers alone. It's trying to link them together and just give them a way to meet other people that are interested in the same thing, and they can be part of a creative community. That's what we're trying to offer. And I was actually just having a meetup with a few of the students a few hours ago. We are just talking about some of the music they were working on. So what advice I would give? Yeah, come to Futureproof Music School. But well, I'll just tell you a true anecdote. So in my teens, I was a touring bass player. As I was saying, I worked in Hong Kong. Actually, I worked for all these Hong Kong artists. And my best friend then, still my best friend actually, from somebody I know from growing up. He was a journalist back then, and he lived in Beijing, and he was an American journalist for American media outlets in Beijing. And but he was kind of bored of doing it. And one time he visited me in Hong Kong, and I said, "Oh, Christian, you should. I'm getting really into this computer music production. It's really fun. You should check it out too. All you need to do, you already have a computer, just get this software and you can start making music, and it'll be really, it'll give you something to do while you're in Beijing and you're bored." And so then he went back, and then like a year later, I saw him again and he quit his job. He became a music producer. It's true. And he managed to develop this whole career in China, and he teamed up with this is a real tangent now, but he teamed up with this Chinese session musician, and the two of them started an ambient group, and they became quite successful. Actually, they ended up touring in Europe, and they're still active. Actually, I was just talking to him the other day. So that's an example. No matter what career you're already in,
Yeah,
music production can probably be an avenue for you, and you can do it anywhere, and you can do as much of it as you want. You don't have to do it all the time. You can just do it some of the time. It's totally fun. It's a great outlet. That's why people enjoy it.
that's a great advice, and I think that you are going to have a increase of students after this podcast.
Great.
Well, thank you so much, John. It has been a wonderful conversation, and I
Yeah,
want
nice talking to you.
to tell that I appreciate your time, your thoughts, and your expertise, and I hope it won't be the last time that we talk.
All right. All right. Well, have a good day, and yeah, we'll talk again soon.
Thank you. Thanks so much. And thanks to our couple of listeners. Remember, we learn from each other. I wish you agency and a wonderful day. And remember that the future was yesterday. Thank you. Bye. Okay.
Hi, this episode is brought to you by Sala. Building for the future shouldn't feel overwhelming. Sala is an all-in-one solution designed to support you at every stage. From shaping an idea to AI-powered customer service. But Sala don't just focus on technology. They help you make sense of it and actually use it in a way that works for you. If you're looking to grow, adapt, or future-proof your business, check out Sala.